Hi guys, Fernandes Limbo for another episode of On the Grid. John, let's get right to it. Last week we had Venice coach John Peacock breaking down his game against Braden River. Braden River went on to win that game. Now it's the Palmetto Tigers in the spotlight. They have a district battle tomorrow night with Braden River. And we got on the phone Palmetto coach Dave Marino. Dave, we want to thank you for being with us. Just quickly, break down this game as you see it. You guys have only lost once to Manatee, but where is your team right now?
We're in a great spot. You know, the kids really done a great job of, rallying back from that disappointing loss in week 2 to Manatee, and they've been focused. They've been hungry. They're just trying to climb back into the conversation of relevance. Like I said, everybody was excited, and we thought we were going to just catapult ourselves in there and beating Manatee, and it just like I said didn't happen. We came up 1 point short, and so. We've just been on a mission to try to get back into, relevancy.
Hey, Coach, we talked yesterday about this, but Xavier Smith returning to your lineup, missed a few weeks to the knee injury. What dimension does he bring to an offense that's already scoring 35 points a game? Well,
it's his speed, and not just his speed, but his elusiveness. But it starts with his speed. He's a track guy. I believe he ran a 10.4.5, something like that at the state track meet last year, and ended up finishing 5th in the state. So, that flat out speed is a huge benefit to any football team, and then his elusiveness, his ability to make people miss, coupled with that flat out breakaway speed is huge. I mean, he's explosive. He can take it the distance from anywhere on the field, and not just as a receiver, but as a kick returner, as a punt returner, and so that's really where we had been lacking. When we lost him, especially in the special teams portion of the game, we just, we have Brandon Luckett, who's also a very gifted kid with a lot of speed, and he returned a kick against Southeast. But other than that, we really didn't have those explosive plays in our punt return game, and that's what we're really looking forward to as well.
Dave, not looking back, but last year you lost to Braden River 38-14. It was their final district game. I read John's story. Turnovers factored in. When you look back at that game, was that what it was? And has Braden River really changed much in the year since then?
Braden River's good. And they have a lot of returning starters, as do we. And yeah, I mean, we turned the ball over 5 times in that game, and it was a back and forth battle. They scored first, and then we scored, and then they scored, and then we scored, and then they scored, and then we drove the ball down, and one of our wide receivers was he catches it, he's wide open, he's breaking away, and it just trips. I mean, it was just the craziest thing, which would have tied us up at 21, and then like I said, we went back and forth. We missed a field goal, and so it was 24-14 coming out of the half, and we had the ball first, so we felt good. We were going to take the ball down and drive it again because, like I said, we were having success moving the football up and down the field, and then and that was the real crucial turnover when Jack had thrown a pick 6, and so instead of us scoring and being 24-21, it was just a huge momentum shift, and and then we went down 31-14, and so and from at that point. I think Jack began to press a little bit, and then we had 3 more turnovers in terms of interceptions, and but like I said, that's the past, and this year Jack is he's really doing a great job. He's matured. He's he's obviously a year older. He's just got a better command of the offense. He's not forcing the big plays. He's allowing them to come to him. He's taking what the defense is giving him, and he's just like I said, he's just doing a better job. A masterful job, executing our offense, staying within the system, and managing the football game, and putting up some great numbers, while he's doing that. So,
Coach, last one for me. Obviously, you have Braden River this week, Venice next week. Is it kind of nice to have 2 big games in a row like that? I mean, there's no leveling out for you guys. It's 2 big games back to back. Is it easier to kind of keep the guys up on that emotional plane when you go from one big game to another like that?
And actually, the kids are really excited about the whole finish to this season because, then after those 2, we play Charlotte in Week 10, and Charlotte's a powerhouse, year in and year out, and they're loaded this year. So, we're real excited about this final stretch of our season, and especially these 2 games. Obviously, the district games, but to pretty much, get reconciliation, if you will, or for the losses last year. Once again, the Venice game, we lose a heartbreaker by 2 points, and we turned the ball over 5 times in that game as well. So, we feel like, if we can go out and play, I'm not saying mistake-free, but if we can protect the ball a little bit better in those 2 games, we feel like last year, we had a great chance to win both those games. And so the kids are, like I said, the kids are really focused on trying to make an amends to those mistakes they made in last year's games.
Coach, my last question is Jack's going to be receiving an honor here in about an hour. Can you just briefly describe what he's going to be getting?
Yeah, he'll be, he was selected for the Under Armour All-American game. He had a choice to make. He was picked for both. He was picked for the Army All-American game, and he's also picked for the Under Armour All-American game. And he made the decision he would rather play in the Under Armour All-American game. So today's the Under Armour All-American game jersey presentation that they do to all the players. And so today is Jack's day, and we're excited here at Palmetto High School, and the community's excited. And we're looking forward to, paying tribute to just a great kid who's meant so much to our program.
Dave, I spoke to you. You said it was going to be a big week regarding the game and him getting the jersey. So it is a big week up in Palmetto. Listen, we really appreciate you joining us on a busy week. Best of luck tomorrow night. It is the marquee game, so hopefully we'll chat with you as the season goes on.
All right, thanks, brother.
Thanks, Dave. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Now, John, you're going to be at this game.
I will.
You've seen Braden River play.
Yes.
Can you just give your brief handicap? I mean, all these games come down to turnovers. You turn the ball over, you're going to lose. What do you see happening in this game?
I think it's just that. I think if Palmetto can avoid the mistakes, as Coach said, and not give a very good defense or a very good offense the ball back, I think it'll be a real close game. I think what Palmetto needs to do, from what I've seen, is limit the big play. That's what killed them against Manatee. I mean, Manatee turned the ball over 6 times in that game, but the big play constantly bit Palmetto, with the big scoring runs, big plays. So Palmetto needs to really, I think, limit that against Braden River. We saw last week Braden River, first play of the game, Raymond Thomas, 78-yard touchdown run, got him off and running, and that's something Palmetto really needs to prevent this week to stay in this game against Braden River. I think it's really close. I think it's hard to pick against Braden River given what they've done the last few weeks. It's in their house, but I think it's going to be a really good, close game, and it should be, again, another great crowd at Braden River High School.
That's not the only game that's deciding a district. If Manatee wins,
right,
they wrap up the district. I know we talk about Manatee every week, but it seems like they finally have got their best foot going forward consistently every Friday night.
Right. I mean, we knew they'd be the best team in that district, but they've been the best team by far. I mean, I think they're 4-0 in the district, all 4 games running clocks. So they've been by far the best team in that district. And the thing about this, if you're Braden River, if you're Manatee, if you win on Friday, your division's clinched. You have really 3 games, 2 or 3 games, kind of rest some guys, play some young guys, get yourself really in shape for the playoffs instead of just grinding. So I think it's big if you're Manatee or Braden River to win tomorrow night, clinch your district, clinch your first-round home game, and then not take those next 2 weeks off. But if you have guys who are a bit banged up, guys who are a bit bruised, give them some rest and get yourself healthy for the playoffs.
Those two games sort of take center stage, but we got a couple other games.
We do.
We got Cape Cola at Charlotte, and we got Island Coast at Port Charlotte.
Right.
Either those 2 teams win, they clinch a playoff spot, and then they're going to face each other for the district title. I mean, is Charlotte going to put up 45 points like they do every game, it seems like?
Well, only 35 last week, so they had an off week last week.
Sorry, Binky.
But when you score 35 points and it's your lowest of the season in week 7, that's pretty good. But yeah, it'd be great if they both won, and that's always a big game, Charlotte-Port Charlotte, and add to the fact that it'll be for the district championship. That'd be pretty cool, and it could be, could be 1 of 2 times they play. If they both get in and both in their first round games, they have the rematch. So yeah, I think it'd be great for Charlotte County and both schools if both teams win tomorrow night and play for the championship on the 30th.
I know there are some teams that playing games that don't really matter much.
Right.
Tomorrow, Southeast, as I wrote in my column Saturday, they had everything going for them going into the game. Right. Now they're in 3rd place. Tough chore going on the road. A very difficult place to beat Wauchula Hardy. Yeah,
I mean, last week we lost a very close game to Lemon Bay, as you said, but I mean, their destiny still is in their hands. If they go to Hardy and they play a good game, they come back with a win, they're still in pretty good shape. If they don't, they'll be in some trouble. It's pretty much right there in front of you, So yeah, it is tough, but you kind of know what the mission is, and they're not at the point yet with the scoreboard watching.
It seems like it's a great environment up in Braden River. It seems like they've had several key games, big games, Lakewood Ranch.
Right.
Just talk about the atmosphere of a big game up in Braden River.
Well, it's funny. I covered them against Leesburg this year, and I hadn't covered a game at Braden River since 2011 when they were 1-9. And the game I covered was when Manatee went in there. That's when Manatee was #1 in the country. It was a terrible atmosphere. It was raining. There were more Manatee fans than Braden River fans. It was just a really, you thought to yourself, wow, this program's in a bad place.
Right.
And then all of a sudden now it's the place to be. The kids are into it with Section E. What you hope for Braden River is that this is the start. They keep this going, because even if you have some down years where you're not 7-0 and you're not 9-1 going to the playoffs, that there's still a great atmosphere there. That's what I think a real true football school is. And even when you don't have the great seasons, you still have the great atmosphere, the great environment. But again, they've really turned that school into a football school. I mean, other sports are pretty good at Braden River. The volleyball team's always been good. They've always had competitive softball and baseball teams, and the basketball teams have had some good years. But now, with the way they played the last 2 seasons, football is the sport at Braden River, and that's what every Florida school wants.
You mentioned Marino, how they're facing back-to-back games.
Right.
Next week we'll be looking forward to the Venice game.
Right.
Obviously next week, and we could be looking at a 3-way tie, depending on what happens tomorrow night. So there's still, even though the season is winding down, there are still meaningful games to go, right?
And to me, this is a big test for Braden River, because last year when they beat Palmetto, that was the last week of the district schedule.
Right.
So they had that kind of meaningless last game and then the playoffs. Well, now they got to come right back after winning a big game against Venice and try and beat Palmetto to win the district. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. I think Venice plays Ranch. They should win that game tomorrow night. So right, I mean, it's two real playoff games in a sense for Palmetto, because if they lose both these games, they're out. They win at least one, they're guaranteed a 3-way tiebreaker. If they sweep, they win a district.
On the Grid is really blowing up. We had Peacock calling last week. We had Marino calling up. John Booth texted me today. He said, I'd like to call the show. I said, well, the Palmetto game is really the game of the week, John, but we'll get you on.
We're turning people down now?
We're turning people down.
Wow.
We're going to try to get Binky Waldrop here. We'll talk about Charlotte. So there's still plenty of football and plenty to discuss here on the Grid. So
never boring.
Never boring. So until next week, for John Lembo, I'm Doug Fernandez, and we'll see you next week on the Grid.